Hey everyone, Kelly Dean Allen here. Now, of course, what you just heard was the rather well-known and wonderful blues guitar solo to Peg by Steely Dan, put down by the fantastic studio session guitarist Jay Graydon. Now, admittedly, I don't know a whole lot about Jay Graydon other than this particular guitar solo, but I gather that he was somewhat more of a jazz rock style guitarist, the likes of which Steely Dan often hired to perform on their various albums. Now, I jokingly said at the top of this video that this was a blues guitar solo because the story goes that when Jay was brought into the studio to put down the solo for this track, he started putting together ideas and lead lines and whatnot that were more in keeping with what previous session guitarists had put down on other Steely Dan tracks, mainly solos with a heavy jazz or jazz rock fusion type feel. Now, after a few hours of this, Donald Fagen of Steely Dan turned to Jay and said, "No, that is not what we're looking for this solo. I want you to play the blues. We're looking for a more bluesy feel for this guitar solo." So Jay adjusted accordingly and before long put down this absolute gem of a solo, which of course would go on to become the keeper for the track. Though, as is typical in this situation, Jay didn't know this at the time and wouldn't discover that his solo was the one until he heard it on the radio a couple of months later. Regardless, back to this being a blues guitar solo. Well, if it's a blues solo, it's a blues solo unlike any other blues solo I've ever listened to or played for that matter. It's blues-like, I suppose, but filtered through the fingers of a jazz player. There's nary a typical or classic blues lick to be found in this solo. It's pretty much cliche-free. It's as if Jay took all his jazzy ideas for this solo and just decided to bend a few of those notes to give it a more bluesy feel, throw in the old tried and true minor third to major third at one point, and what he ended up with was this fantastic jazz blues hybrid of a guitar solo, which is really quite unique to say the least, and no doubt the determining factor in why it was chosen for the track by Steely Dan. Chosen, mind you, over dozens of other guitar solos put down by no less than 7 other highly regarded session players brought in just for this specific guitar solo. Walter and Donald spent a fortune on guitar players over a period of weeks just for this one short solo. Such was the level of perfection with regards to the music that they were producing. It was all quite mad, actually, at the time, but it's pretty damned hard to argue with the results, of course. Peg would go on to become one of the biggest hits the band ever had, and this solo has gone down as one of the greatest guitar solos of all time. Both accomplishments well deserved, I must say. Regardless, I've done a tutorial for this solo, and it is my Patreon exclusive of the week. So if you are interested in such things, you can head on over to Patreon and sign up to my account if you like. I'll post a link down below in the description box. And to those of you who have already signed up and support me on Patreon, a really big thank you to all. It really means a lot. Helps me get one step closer to quitting the old boring day job and doing this full time. And that's the goal and the dream, and we're gonna get there, I'm sure, maybe within a year or so. Anyway, that's it for now. Hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please hit that like button. Drop me a subscribe if you haven't done that already, as that would be awfully kind. Hope you're well out there in your little guitar corner of the world, wherever that may find you, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.